Yeah, we're back at it. I want y'all to help me welcome Krista Mellinson to the show, the relationship chef. I saw that in the profile and jumped all over it. I had to have you on. How are you, my dear?
I'm awesome. Thank you. How are you doing today? Thank you for having
I
me, by the way.
Oh man, it's a pleasure. How did you become the relationship chef?
Well, I became a chef first. I've always been interested in food, and I kind of pestered my mom, who was really great in the kitchen for
Hmm.
years, and she said, you know what? If she's going to be under my feet, I may as well make her productive and teach her something.
Right.
So she taught me to cook and develop this interest, and then when I was in university, I was taking maths and statistics because I wanted to go into the actuary business like my dad, and then
Hmm.
realized I'm just not smart enough for that. And I like cooking better. So I went
Yep.
to culinary school in Paris, and my cooking took off from there. And
Hmm.
somewhere along the line, somewhere around COVID, I was doing relationship coaching, and I thought, what I need to do is I need to bring these two things in together.
Yeah.
And then that is the relationship chef was born, because I think that food and relationships are intrinsically tied,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Every event, every graduation, wedding, birthday, anniversary, whatever, there's food there somehow. So
Hmm.
it's already part of
There
our
is.
life. Let's use it to enhance our lives.
There is. And I absolutely adore food. I love food. I can't help it. Even with my recent cancer surgery, losing a lot of weight, and but slowly getting back up to my weight where I was in college. Food and relationships go together.
Hmm.
They absolutely go together. I can't tell you how many times my beautiful wife Jody and I have had conversations about growing and eating natural food, our own natural food, because as you know, a lot of this stuff is processed and it ain't good for you at all.
Well, let me tell you, I had a discussion with my boyfriend about that just this morning, because we spend
Hmm.
a lot of time in Europe and France.
Yeah,
And we were talking specifically about the flour in Europe versus the flour in North America.
yeah,
They use a whole different wheat, and in Europe, there's much less gluten in the flour. But we were both saying that when we're in Europe and we're stuffing baguettes in our face, left, right, and center, we don't feel bloated and uncomfortable the way
right.
we do when we're at home.
Hmm.
And it's not just the flour, but they don't eat the processed foods. Their produce has not come from us on a slow boat from China. They
Yeah.
have fresh, regionally grown, or pretty close to regionally grown. Everything
Hmm.
is fresh. It's not as expensive. You look at it and it's vibrant. The colors are amazing. The taste is incredible. It's just completely different there, and they're healthier and they live a long time despite the cheese, the wine, the cigarettes, or whatever, right?
Hmm. Hmm. They do. They do. And we are wanting to travel so bad. I mean, we're at a point right now. We are going to save some money. We're going to live in an RV for a
Love it.
while we pay down some bills. It took a while for Jody to convince me to do it because I'm from Chicago. I'm from a big city, and she and our styles were very different when we met, and now they're starting to mesh, especially with her cooking. Because when we moved to North Carolina, the first thing she cooked for me in North Carolina was a swordfish steak that we got from a fish market in Wilmington.
Nice.
And I agree with you. The processed food is not good for you. It's different in other countries, and you gotta get back. You gotta get to some started, but they don't stick with it. I mean, hell, I'm trying to rid myself of coffee. I'm trying to rid myself of the coffee habit and the caffeine habit. And I said today would be the last day I drink any size of this. I said it this morning on my morning show that I quit.
Hmm.
I quit. I can't do it anymore. Why do you think that food and couples are so very important to connect with each other. Why do you think this is? Why do you think that it's so important and a good way to connect?
I believe that food is very much a love language, right? It's a physical, sensual thing right down to your soul.
It
And
is.
and there's various dialects, if you will. You have your love language of food with your kids, and I mean, my kids, unfortunately or fortunately or whatever, have very high standards when it comes to
Right.
food. I've been feeding them a certain way all their lives. But for them, they're off around all over the place. And when they're coming home, it's like, Mom, I want bup, 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 bup. Right? This is what they want.
Hmm.
This is what they connect with their memories with mom and childhood and whatnot. But there's the love language of couples too, right? And I mean, you go on your first date, what do you do? Well, normally you'll go out for supper.
Hmm.
Or if you have an anniversary, it's like, I'm going to book a beautiful table in a beautiful restaurant for our anniversary
Right.
dinner, right? And so it it's part of it. But when you bring it home, and you'll see all these people on, there's one guy on Instagram that's amazing, and he does the cooking with his shirt off and makes these amazing things. And my daughter says to me, she goes, I've seen that guy. He has thirsty videos or whatever. I don't even know. I mean, I kind of know what that means. I don't really know what that means. But it's the sensuality, and he's done a brilliant job. I'm like 32 years too old to do it the way he does it. But he dips his food in the or dips his finger in the food, and he licks his finger, and like I assume the girls are swooning over this or whatever. But it's true, right?
Yeah.
Because when you put something in your mouth that you really like, think about that swordfish steak that you had, or a
Mm.
really amazing shrimp scampi, or
Yep.
a beautiful fresh piece of bread, as we were saying earlier, with some nice butter on it, right? You put that
Right.
in your mouth, and it brings feelings. It
Doesn't
makes your
it?
mind, think things, and it makes your body react. And that's very much the same as love does to your body, right? You see that person,
Hmm.
you see your wife, and your heart goes pitter patter, and you think about how much you love them, and it evokes a certain feeling. And I think that food is capable of doing that. And when you
Yes,
put those two together, it's powerful.
it is. It is. I've helped. Well, we have a playful rule that when Jody's cooking, I get out of the kitchen. But there were times I would sneak in there and get a whiff of what she's cooking, and she would tell me what she put in, what she put in the food. Whenever football season comes around, she looks at me and I look at her, and she says, "All right, how much chili do you want? All right, bring it on." Well, we put a lot of vegetables in the chili. There's a lot of ground turkey, and we've
Mhm.
gone ground turkey instead of ground beef. And like I said, with Jody, there's so many things that she convinced me to do to change what I was eating. And she said something that's very key. And I want your thoughts on this. When you are in survival mode, your eating habits are horrid. But if you're not in survival mode and you're in thriving mode, you can start to make the changes and complete them even faster than when you're in survival mode. What's your thoughts on that?
For sure. So you're a sports guy, right? You would know the
Yep.
expression win or lose, hit the booze, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so to a certain extent, but we're going to pull that a little bit differently. But you're in the lose part, you're
Hmm.
hitting the booze maybe a little more forcefully. And
Right.
it's the same way with the comfort food, right? You're feeling down, you're stressed out. You want something that's going to give you immediate satisfaction. And even though, um, a really great fresh salad with goat cheese and fresh strawberries and, maybe some
Hmm.
pecans or whatever is delicious, your
Yep.
mind will go to that quick junk that gives you that quick hit of, emotions or whatever when you taste it, which will be the French fries or you know, the Philly cheesesteak or chicken wings with hot sauce or whatever, the things that
Yes.
aren't so good for you. And
Yep.
it's that I need immediate gratification.
Hmm.
Whereas when you're feeling better, your mind is more clear, you're willing to take the time to make your gratification, the process of creating it and consuming it, and not just woofing it down quickly, but savoring
Right.
and appreciating all the different flavors. Whereas when you're looking for that immediate gratification because you're feeling low, it's got to be something that's smack you in the face,
Yep.
rewarding.
Yep. 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 Um, Most stressful times for me, when I lost my daughter, when she was 2,
Oh, I'm so sorry that.
and I basically had my family at the time I was in Indianapolis stripped from me because I was black. I'll say it. I'll say it aloud, and I love saying it aloud. Um, which led to me moving back home with my mother, which led to a ton of arguments about my earnings and what I bring in to help the house for food and things and things like it just led to a ton, I repeat, a ton of arguments. And I was so stressed out, I would go out to Starbucks downtown Chicago and drink a ton of coffee, ton of green tea, and there was a store next to me. I'd get junk food. I would be eating junk food all day because, and you said it, so you're so stressed out, and that's what's happening to a lot of couples. Mr. Shug has joined us, and he said, food is an expression of love, and you tend to use it somewhat as a moment in time, just like remembering exactly what you were doing when you heard Thriller or King of Rock for the first time. Right on target.
Yep,
Right
absolutely.
on. Right on target. Food is indeed a love language, especially when you make it yourself. When you're not ordering something and then going to go pick it up and not seeing the process. And that's where I want to go next. How much of a key is it when couples go through the simplest of processes of making a meal and doing it together? How dynamic and how important is that?
Oh, it's amazing when you can do that. I mean, every night you have to have dinner, right? You're going to make dinner and it's going to be
Yep.
good and that's fine. But if you take the time once in a while to, you want to get into the mindset of saying this is a date night and
Hmm.
you plan a special meal,
Yep.
and then the two of you are in the kitchen working together, working as a team. It's the ultimate teamwork, right?
Yes.
And there's a kiss here and a squeeze there, and I don't know how G-rated this is, but a grope here, or
Uh-huh.
whatever, right? And
Right.
it's just you're bonding, you're spending this time together, and then after you've worked as a team to create this beautiful meal, and had conversations and laughs, and you drop something on the floor, you burn something, whatever.
Yep.
Sometimes the failures are the most fun, but
Hmm.
once you've gone through this process, then you sit down to this beautiful meal in the privacy of your own home,
Yep.
and it's beautiful. It is sensual, the same
It
as,
is.
maybe not the same as making love, but along those lines, right? You
Hmm.
have created this symphony of two people together for an end result that is incredible, and that's what the meal is. And even if the meal turns out garbage, you laugh and you enjoy the moment and you still eat it because
Hmm.
the process is not just the meal, but the time you've spent together and bonded over it.
How did you combine the two of being of your chef teachings and your um, relationship coaching? How hard was it to combine the two together, and what turned the light on for you to put the two together and say, "Look, this is what I'm going to do." What event can you point to that turned the light on for you for that?
Well, um, I was doing the relationship coaching, and I was enjoying it and filling a certain need for people. But I'll be honest with you, I wish I could say it was some brilliant light bulb going on, but it was
Hmm.
speaking to my business coach, and she said, "You need to bring the food into it." I said, "What?" And she said, "Clearly, food is your passion or your other passion. She said, you need to bring the food into it. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I had to sit on it and think about it for a month or two.
Right.
And
Right.
then I
Right.
hold on. Yeah, because food and they're my two passions, right? I've always known that I wanted to share my life with somebody and have a committed bond and relationship with one man and
Hmm.
build a life with that person. And that
Hmm.
is a passion of mine, which is why I got into relationship coaching. But on the other hand, food has always been there, right? My
Right.
ex-husband was a picky eater. Where was our commonality? I'd make stuff, he'd turn his nose up at it.
Hmm.
And cooking together was absolutely never even a consideration, right? He wasn't the
Hmm.
right person for me because he didn't share that one really huge passion that I have, which is food. And so when I thought about the two passions in my life and how I can bring them together, it didn't
Right.
take very long for the blocks to fall into place to say, wait, this is perfect, you
Hmm.
know, is bringing together all the ingredients you need to create an amazing relationship.
Yes. Yes. Very true. And that's what Jody does for me. And that's what we have been talking about for 2 years now, because we got some things growing on the back porch, but I know she wants a garden.
Yeah.
And I told her, whenever you start, I may be disabled, but honey, you just tell me what you need and I will help you. I gave her that promise when we move, when I get healed up from this toe amputation and I get my special shoes and I'm able to walk again. Um, promises like that involve your partner and involve food, and you put the two together. And I know many a couple who have done this. Jody and I have done this, just to, just to show some love, man. Just to be there for your partner when they've had a bad day. Because Lord knows Jody gets stressed out very easily, and I understand why. When you go into the kitchen and you cook something, normally one person cooks for another, but you just need that one time, like we just talked about a moment ago, where you do it together
Mhm.
in in the kitchen. What do you think is the common problem for couples not connecting?
They don't make the time for it because life gets in the way, right?
Yep.
Life gets busy and
Mhm.
kids are around or work or meetings or business or whatever. And you know what? I just had actually two, but one really specific example of this recently is um, my very, very close friends in France who are my neighbors, and I've known them for 17 years, and they're more like my friend or more like family than friends.
Yeah.
And they got married about 8 years ago, and they're my age. They're, kind of late 50s.
Hmm.
And she recently passed away,
Oh my
and
gosh.
he's devastated. Even though,
Mhm.
like, she was ill, but not ill in the way that you didn't think she was going to be around tomorrow.
Yep.
And he's devastated, and it came right at the time when I'm sort of working into my sort of PR, I guess, but my promotional material, which is to say that you're never going to look back and say, I wish I had gone to another soccer practice, or I wish I had gone to another meeting, or I wish I'd made another $10,000. You're going to say, I wish I had another night with my partner. I wish I
Yeah.
had one more moment, right? And
Hmm.
so I think that people don't make the time to do it, but they need to make the time to do it. They need to
Yeah.
slow down and say, you know what? I'm going to be a better parent if I'm connected with my partner, or I'm going to be a better business person because I feel satisfied and fulfilled in my relationship, in my personal life. And all of this, it's a ripple effect, right? You
Hmm.
feel good, you fill your tank there, and it ripples out to the rest of your life, and you're better at everything you do.
Yep.
And I think that people just don't understand the importance and don't make the time. And like I said, they don't have to do it every night. It can be once a month. but
Hmm.
say, okay, this is the time that I'm putting aside for us. And it's not
Right.
for, if Jody says to you, Brian, I want to do this cooking class, she's not just doing it for you. She's doing it
Right.
for you and for her. And
And
it's
for her.
two of you, right?
Absolutely.
And people
Absolutely.
need to express that. Honey, I want to do this. I want to have a date night. I want to set this time aside. But it's not just for me, it's for you and for us to connect as a couple because everybody's
Yes.
going to feel get better.
Yes. That is so key. Just making the time to connect. That is something else. Inspired Truth Broadcast is with us. Welcome to you and thanks for stopping by. Kristen Mellinson is joining me, the relationship chef. And if you haven't had a chance to take a look at what she's doing, I suggest that you do. She is available for people to look at, for people to look her up on the internet. What do you think makes a great date? What do you think makes a great date?
I think the only thing you need to have a great date is two people who are open minded and wanting to spend time together. And I think that it has to be in a place where you can have conversation. Going to a
Mhm.
movie is fun, going to a movie is not a great date.
Right.
Going to a play, going to Broadway, fun, but it's not a great date because you don't
Hmm.
connect. You can't look in each other's eyes, you can't have the conversation. And I think that you need two people who want to be together, who want to connect, is the first most important part of the date. And then after that, you just need a place where you can talk and connect and look at each other and hold hands and, you know, whatever seems to be the fun thing to do. There's lots of great places that you can go for a date, but they're not
Hmm.
necessarily the best.
Right.
But I think the best ingredient is two people who want to be together, who want to share this time, and an environment where you can talk and look at each other and really connect.
That is so key. And those are the ingredients of a great date, because every time that Jody and I have a date night here at home, no matter what we're doing, is just the fact that we're together. And you said life gets in the way. It has gotten in the way for us. And she told me one day, I am in fear because we don't spend enough time together. It doesn't matter what we do. I know you're in here and you're working on stuff, but I don't get enough time with you. I made a change after she said that, because no matter how late she gets home and I go in, I give her a massage, we talk for a little bit, and then I take my daughter to work and I come back and she's still up. So we have a little more time together. It's that right there. And I want to get back to cooking natural food with her, and just peeking in and messing with her, saying that's good, and then she playfully forces me out of the kitchen. But when you have two people that want to come together, and this is the correct word that you use, want to come together
Mhm.
and spend time with each other, you don't need to do anything fancy.
No,
You basically can have the ingredients at home and make the meal at home, and you guys test it. Because Jody and I will sit at the table. I may be in here, but when she makes something, we'll sit at the table and chat for a little bit.
yeah, it's all part of that, the sharing of time and the sharing of ideas and thoughts and closeness.
Yep.
And it really just has to be that desire to spend time together because this is the person you've chosen to spend the rest of your life with, right?
Yep.
Does not mean that they are worth taking that time, booking off that evening,
Yep.
setting aside the time
Hmm.
to cultivate that relationship. Because the problem is got another meeting, I've got to do something with the kids, I've got this, that, and the other thing, but we'll get to it later. And then later
Hmm.
comes much down the road, much further
Yep.
down the road, and
Yep.
there's nothing left.
Hmm.
Your acquaintances or roommates, but there's no romance or spark left because you've neglected your relationship for so many years. So
Hmm.
that's why you need to connect. It sounds like you guys do a great job, and I love that. That always makes me so happy to hear that. But you know, it's because you guys have made a conscious effort to cultivate that bond and that connection, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just what people need to do. And it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You just
It
have to
is.
want to do it.
It is. It's very possible. I mean, there are things that drives me nuts about Jody and that drive her nuts, but it's just when we come together and talk everything out, that's huge. When we
Yep.
come together and just sit and talk and laugh and smile, and she'll be watching something on her phone, more than likely CSI Miami. That's her latest binge
Well, let's
watch.
see something.
Same here. I love it too. I'll watch with her. It's like you don't have to really talk every time. You can just enjoy each other, with what they're watching or what they're doing. And she started messing with me, and this is her getting back at me. She started messing with me when I would repeat different sports calls aloud. She heard me say, "Here's Clark 1 for 4," and she sneaks up behind me and go, "Nuh-uh, he's 1 for 5." And that was our connection to that, because I know she doesn't like I know she doesn't like baseball, but her support means everything to me.
Yeah.
And it's unconditional support from me to her also. And that is something else. If you have that, then you can't lose. This, my friends, is Krista Mellinson. Go check her out online. The website that you need is Krista, Krisa Marie.com. And you'll learn more about the relationship chef that she has had the awesome time to spend time here with us on the program. I thank you so very, very much. It was an absolute delight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. It was really nice meeting you and talking with you. I appreciate you having me on your call.
We'll be back with more after this.